Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag and drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. I'm so excited about the movie we're talking about tonight. It makes me cry man tears.
Well, good. I like that.
Right?
Yeah, this
right?
is your field of dreams.
Is it?
I guess so. Field of Dreams makes me cry man tears.
Oh, that's right. I guess that's true. You simpering imp.
What kind of a man are you?
Okay. So this is The Next Reel, and I'm Pete, and the other guy over there is Andy, and we're really, really thrilled that you're here. And we talk about movies. We talk about one movie each week, and we're so glad you can join us to hear us talk about that movie. We spoil the movies heavily, and so make sure you go see the movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it first. You can find us on the web at thenextreel.com. You can listen to the show. You can also listen live at thenextreel.com/live. You know, I haven't done anything to make that easier for people, so you got to be brave and know that you're a little bit of a grease monkey. You're getting under the hood when you try to listen to us live. So we'll fix that eventually, but for now, we're still learning. You can find us and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/thenextreel, and you'll get the updates when you like us on that page. You can call us at 657-201-7335. That's 657-201-REEL. Leave us a message there, and we will almost assuredly play it on the air. And write us an email, show@thenextreel.com. Yes, and iTunes. If you're listening to us on the website or on Facebook, make sure you head over to iTunes, search for us at The Next Reel, and leave us a review, preferably a 5-star rating. It certainly helps other people find and join us and join our little cinema community.
Yes,
we've got a wee community,
a wee band, this band of brothers.
Tis. All right.
I was going to get all Shakespearean there, but
no, it's pretty much all I've got. I don't have a script.
We happy few.
So tell me what you've been doing this week. We should talk at the risk of creating a little rat hole here. We should talk a little bit about the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to? I mean, I don't know. You seem all weird about it. This is the thing we look forward to, and here you are getting kind of weird about it. What's going on with that?
It's just because I know it can turn into a very long conversation.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be, because I'll tell you why. Because there's just one big question, and that is, in general, good calls, bad calls.
I didn't win my Oscar pool, so I was a little disappointed about that. But I thought they did a good job picking. I mean, it was an interesting year because for the first time in a while, I felt like they had a lot of really strong choices in virtually every category, at least the big ones that I'd been paying attention to, and I was really happy. I think the one disappointment for me was that Brave won over Wreck-It Ralph, which I enjoyed more than Brave. I just felt like Brave was such a retread of Brother Bear. I just wish that I wish that everyone else had seen that. I think that they just liked the fact that it was a strong female protagonist. That's my...
I think that's true. I think you and I are split on that one. That was not a surprise to me. I'm really thrilled that Brave won, because that's one of the new classics in our house. I was not surprised really by any of, even if they weren't my picks. I certainly wasn't surprised by how the Academy fell. I was super pleased with wins like Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
I was super duper pleased with Jennifer Lawrence, frankly. And I'll tell you why. It's not for the reason you think.
Okay.
I am pleased because if you start the process of learning about Jennifer Lawrence, right, as I did after she won, I went through and I started Googling a little bit, you will find an underground network of Jennifer Lawrence animated GIFs of her being awesome, which leads you to a series of YouTube videos of her saying incredibly funny and inappropriately honest things in public. As it turns out, she's super charming.
Yeah.
And I found myself I found her really endearing herself to me after she won. So it's sort of retroactive.
I did see her post interview with all the press after the Oscars, and she was very endearing there. And I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed her acceptance speech.
I don't remember. Who did you have picked for Best Actress? Jessica Chastain?
I really liked Jessica Chastain. I thought she was great. She would have been my pick.
Yeah.
I also liked Emmanuel Riva quite a bit in Amour, although that movie is just really hard to watch.
Yeah. but nothing else really surprised me. I was also super pleased with Life of Pi.
Yeah,
particularly Claudia Miranda. I mean, I that was a well deserved, I think, a fantastic choice.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was a gorgeous film. I thought they did an amazing job with it. It was nice seeing the effects team getting an award, even though they've just declared bankruptcy like the day before or the day after the Oscars, whatever.
Quite heartbreaking.
It is. But they did a really magnificent job. I really enjoyed that film quite a bit.
All right. Well, I don't want to drag you down anywhere. Should we say something about Argo?
Just one last thing about the Oscars that I felt this year. For the most part, I felt people gave really nice acceptance speeches. I really actually enjoyed listening to people talk.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just too much, and this time they just seemed, I don't know, just much more heartfelt or something.
Is this the first year they've gone cheeky with the play out music?
Yeah, usually it's just something.
It's just a score, right?
Building. It just slowly starts building. Yeah, this year with the Jaws theme coming in, then all of a sudden they just kind of
and then you're just done, man. The mic is done, and you've just gotten eaten by a shark on stage. That was horrible.
Yeah.
Let's see, and what's his name? Seth
MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed him. I thought he did a good job. I enjoyed him. I felt he might have been a little too self-deprecating at times. Like it was overly self-deprecating. He really reminded us time and time again, but
I'm terrible at this job. Exactly. I'm terrible. Everything I've said so far, terrible. What you're going to see next, equally terrible, maybe more. Yeah, it's just the setup. I thought that 20 minutes before we got into the movies, that was a little much.
That didn't bug me.
It just wasn't that entertaining. William Shatner, not that entertaining. Like I felt like he was. I feel like people are making a way too big a deal about some of the offensive stuff. When you hire a guy like Seth MacFarlane to do something like this, really, you're going to be surprised when he does things that are offensive. You should get what you pay for. I found myself chuckling. But mostly he was no Billy. I miss Billy still.
I really hope that they go the Golden Globes route
with Amy and
Amy and Tina. I think it would be
they would be great.
Yeah,
they would satisfy my need for Billy.
Yes,
I think they're Billy charming.
I think
girls,
they're all I need.
Okay. All right. So I'm done talking about the Oscars. I'm officially deleting the Oscars app off of my iPad.
There you go.
Because it's the end of the year. I'll download it again next year. I've actually changed all the calendars in my house to the Oscarian calendar. So Happy New Year.
Oh, good. Happy New Year. Yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, what do we got for trailers? What are you going to talk about?
I am going to talk about Kon-Tiki, jumping back into the Oscars. It was one of the films nominated for Best Foreign Film. And I didn't really know much about it, and I just thought I'd watch the trailer. And it's really a fascinating, kind of frightening trailer. The story is about this Norwegian adventurer who sets out on this expedition across the ocean to prove that Peruvians, I think, were the first people to settle in Polynesia or something like that. And so he and 5 fellow adventurers create this ancient raft, like based on how it would have been back in the day. And they go on this rafting expedition basically across the Pacific. And there's storms and there are sharks galore. That alone makes me never want to try this. All of with the shot of the giant great white shark laying on their deck, snapping at them, trying to eat them, is almost more terrifying than the shark in Jaws popping up at the end.
I love how you set this up as if it weren't for the sharks, you would try this.
That's right. Well, see,
Stupid, dumb sharks. They ruin everything.
You watch Castaway, and it's, that was the worst moment in that whole movie for me. I think it's just a shark thing. The worst moment in that whole movie was after he gets off the island and he and Wilson are sailing on their little raft, out into the ocean. And he's gone through all this trauma. And then Wilson falls off the raft and he has to jump off his raft and he's trying to swim to Wilson, but he doesn't want to get too far from his raft. I was just terrified that a shark was going to come along. I could not stop thinking about, oh my God, he's going to die. He's going to get eaten by a shark. It was terrifying. I am not meant to be. And Life of Pi, I couldn't handle that.
No,
I would just, I would be like the open water guy. I would just, jump in, swallow a bunch of water, and then drown myself before I had to feel the shark biting down on me.
Totally, it is. That is officially horrifying. But and Life of Pi. I mean, they were just piling it on, right?
Yeah,
you're in the open water, and you've got a Bengal tiger on your boat.
Exactly.
That's just overkill. Right?
It's just, come on. What else?
Too much.
But anyway, Kon-Tiki does look like absolutely amazing film. Very excited to see it when it does roll around finally.
And there is a wonderful CGI. It's VFX breakdown HD on the Kon-Tiki visual effects, and it's like 9 minutes of how they do all the awesome shark when the guy reaches in and picks up the shark, and it's just fantastic, and it's worth checking out. I'll put the link in the show notes on the blog. It's
awesome,
gruesome.
Yeah, it's good to know how these effects are done.
Yeah, you want to know because
looks so real. Yeah,
it does. It looks so real, and you just It's you got to know before you.
Yeah,
blow.
It wasn't real sharks.
Not real sharks.
That's right.
There's actually a guy. There was a guy. They just beat him silly. That's not true either.
Now you're just lying.
It was like the Jabba the Hutt replacement. With the fat guy.
On me boogie.
On me boogie.
Yes.
Okay, so my trailer.
Yeah.
Is I've already lost it. It was the brass teapot.
There you go.
Yeah. So you hadn't seen this thing.
Not until you told me to watch it.
This is a new film, and it's I believe this is the first feature from director Rama Mosley. She wrote and directed the Brass Teapot short back in 2007. The whole concept in this film, we have these high school sweethearts who were, according to the description, once voted most likely to succeed. When they graduate, they have a hard time finding the good life. They end up coming across this brass teapot that just spouts money out of it whenever they're causing each other pain, physical pain. And so it's a whole film. It's almost 2 hours of these two people just beating the snot out of each other in really fantastic ways, in public, sometimes surreptitiously in public, and it's just very funny. It stars Juno Temple and Michael Angarano, and former Gilmore Girl Alexis Bledel. I don't know if you know that. Yeah,
I saw that.
It looks very to me. It's that sort of dark. It's the dark funny that I crave. So.
We've had quite a few trailers. We've had quite a few trailers that kind of are in that have that vibe lately.
We totally have. The sort of It's a Disaster felt kind of like this.
Small
a little bit.
Apartments.
Small Apartments was awesome.
What was the one that you did with what's his name?
See, now it's gone.
It is.
That was a good story, though.
That other one.
I'll tell you what. In 5 minutes, I'm going to have you tell this story again.
I will, and then everyone will go to sleep.
They will all know. They'll know the truth.
Indeed.
Yeah. So this looks like a good one. I should say. When is it hitting theaters? April 5th.
Yep.
April 5th, 2013. So looks like a good one to keep an eye out for.
Wrong.
Okay.
That's the movie.
Oh. I thought you were accusing me. I thought that was an accusation.
I was just telling you the name of it.
You're so right.
That's right.
That's funny.
Yes. So there you go.
That was the one with the dog.
The wacky dog,
the wacky
and the guy
dog
who's trying to use the dog poop to
and my favorite William Finchner.
There you go.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Yes. All right.
God,
So
I'm glad you did that.
I am too. I feel much better about myself.
All right. So so we've got a couple of good trailers coming up. But we also have to wrap up this year's edition of our baseball series.
That's right. It was a very short little series, but a good one. Two great picks.
What are we talking about tonight?
Tonight we're ending our series with The Sandlot, 1993's film by David Mickey Evans.
That David Mickey Evans. Do you look at the other films that he's done?
He is very much a director of family-oriented films, it certainly looks.
Well, he is now. But go back to the late 80s, right? Open House, Terminal Entry, Class of 1999. It was really until he stumbled into Radio Flyer.
Yeah.
And the Open House, Terminal Entry, he wrote those films. He was a screenplay writer. Class of 1999, uncredited, but they were both sort of B-grade sci-fi films. And I found that really funny. And then, okay, let's do Radio Flyer. Kids who are abused.
Yeah. Oh, that was a tough one.
Yeah. You know, you kind of get the feeling when you watch Radio Flyer to Sandlot, and then you can tell me why you love Sandlot. Because this was your idea, Sandlot, if I recall.
Yeah, that's
totally
right.
your idea. Is that, you know, he wrote and produced, as an executive producer on Radio Flyer, and you kind of get the feeling that half of Radio Flyer is who he is.
Right.
And The Sandlot finishes that, right? It's sort of, you know what, a lot of Radio Flyer is not who I am anymore. That's kind of the feeling you get. And The Sandlot is sort of the punchline to that.
Yeah, the Radio Flyer, it was a strange vibe, as I recall. It really kind of had this magical child version of, you know, this fantasy world that they had created, paired with this, you know, turbulent relationship with this abusive I can't remember if it was a parent or a stepfather.
Yeah, it was a stepdad. Yeah. It was beautifully put together. I mean, it had that very sort of Steven Spielberg circus, E.T. vibe to it.
Yeah, right.
And so it was gorgeous to watch until you realize what the movie was actually about, and then you realize you're just getting kicked in the stomach.
Yeah, it's not a film that you want to take your kids to.
No,
definitely not a kids' film.
But The Sandlot is. Totally falls in line with that kind of the Goonies vibe. It's great. Why do you love The Sandlot? Why do you want to add this to our list? It's the first kids film, right?
I think it is. I think it might be. It was great watching with my daughter. It's a really just a fun, simple film that is a coming of age story. It's a story about friendship. It's a story about memories. It's a story about challenges. It's a story about trying your best. There's so much going on here, and so many elements to these kids' lives that we're seeing as they spend this summer together. That I don't know. It's one of those films that I never saw it when it came out. I didn't see it until last year when we were doing our baseball series. Actually, I was talking to some of my students, and they said, "Oh, you got to watch The Sandlot."
Totally.
And so I watched it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." It always looked kind of silly when I was when it came out, but as a college kid, and you know how you are when you're a college kid, young and cocky and all that. And this sort of movie is not what you're going to want to watch. Oh, that's how you were.
Very few people who can say that.
Right.
And actually know the truth. I was so not cocky. You just no, sir.
I wasn't cocky. I was picky. I wasn't gonna go watch.
You were
a kids movie.
You weren't picky. You were snotty. You were a cinema snob. You and your hand polishing your laser discs every Friday night.
How did you know?
I was still on VHS. Oh, yes.
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
I was
what were you
so
saying?
much more advanced than you. Paying $100 for a movie.
Oh, yes. I like to watch Side B, Disc 2 of Aliens. I like to watch my movies in 15-minute increments. That's a real treat.
Oh, so anyway, back to the Sandlot. So I finally watched it, and I was like, gosh, this is just a really fun film. It was a film that I wasn't really sure what to expect, and then when I watched it, I realized for me it felt a lot like A Christmas Story, which is a film that is not really structured like a film typically is. Christmas Story kind of is very episodic. You've got these little stories kind of going along, and there's a bigger story about him trying to get the gun and everything like that, and everything building up to Christmas. But it's so episodic all the way through. This had that same sort of vibe. And all of these little episodes were just little elements of these boys kind of growing up and experiencing life as kids in all those, things that, boys do when they're those tweens, that age, like the 10, 11, 12-year-old who go and play in the Sandlot and get in trouble just a little bit, like his mom says. It has that vibe that really brought me back to childhood and those sorts of days, just running around with all my friends, that you don't realize how much of an impact that time in your life had on you until you reflect on it. And this movie is one of those things that helps me, kind of brings me back to those days, and I start remembering about all those things. And I think that's why I am finding this film so enjoyable to watch, because it puts me in that place again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's that vibe, that sort of narrator vibe, as he's telling the story of these kids, of Scott Smalls moving into this neighborhood, having no friends. It takes me. It is such a visceral feeling. I think that's one of the things that the movie does so well, and that these boys, frankly, do so well. Is capture that feeling of youth. It's not pretentious. It's goofy. It was just very natural. And I should say, it's not natural, but that's my memory of what I was like then.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
they took out all the stuff that was probably really happening in my experience.
Yeah, right.
That is just really horrifying, and they just saved what I remember about we didn't have a Sandlot, but man, did we play the heck out of some Kick the Can.
Sure. Well, and even going so far as to expanding, like the way that kids do, expanding on what things are. And the whole idea of the beast is such a great example of them imagining this monster, this, Tyrannosaurus Rex type of dog that's behind this fence that will devour a child in one bite and all that sort of stuff.
Right. And has eaten 150 baseballs.
Exactly. And all these criminals and everything, the backstory for the dog is almost as fun as the whole movie.
Absolutely.
But it captures all of that imagination, that place that kids' minds are in at that time in their lives.
Yeah. Well, and what I think is really special in terms of the, sort of standout performance from Tom Guiry.
I think it's Gyrie.
I don't even know. You're going to do that to me again. I don't pronounce things.
I know. I like to correct you because I feel special since I listened to it on the special features just a half hour
Well,
ago.
did they talk anything about Denise Liari?
They didn't.
I mean, he was sort of a newcomer at this point.
They did not talk about anyone. Oh, I was like, who is this Denise Liari? Oh, wow.
Oh, that was good.
That was a good one.
That was good.
Yes, Denise Liari.
Daddy.
I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him.
Daddy got game. So Tom Guiry.
There you go. He likes it when you say Guiry.
He does. They all do. I have my own special pronunciation.
That's right.
When he, I think one of the most sort of special kind of relationships is when Smalls kind of introduces himself to the Sandlot Club, right?
Right.
And like, how many times when you were 10, 11, did you get into that social situation where you were absolutely 100% ill-equipped to truck with a group? Like, you don't know who Babe Ruth is, and you want to play baseball with fanatics. You are ill-equipped to be there, and you have to find a way to feel your way through the indoctrination process. And I think, gosh, the boys themselves, I think, did a terrific job of making that awkwardness and that horrible feeling of vulnerability very, very real in this just otherwise kind of goofy, funny film.
Yeah, they all feel very real in a very childlike way. They're all a little bit over the top, but you can totally buy into all of it coming from these goofy kids, especially like someone like Squints. Every time he's talking, it's so over the top. And then when he's playing dead, waiting for the kiss by Wendy, it's that wink and smile that he does is just the goofiest, thing that a kid could do, and it totally works. It makes you love him all the more.
I think it works back to this sort of how we interpret our memories thing as kids is that when when they go home that night and they're telling their brothers and sisters or moms or dads what happened that day, they're telling them exactly how Squints portrayed it in this film.
Yeah.
Not what likely really happened, which was very awkward, sort of mouth grope.
Right.
But this very cool sort of trick that he pulled on the unknowing lifeguard. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was. No, and you're right. It is. And that goes back to the whole thing of the reality versus the memories of it. And that's why, this film just taps into that feeling of memories so well, just like A Christmas Story. I mean, they both have that vibe of putting you in a place where you remember things that way.
How do you think this compares to movies like, I don't know, Stand By Me, for example? To me, in contrast with that movie, that came out, what was that, late 80s, 86, I think?
Yeah, somewhere around here.
That you sort of have the same vibe with the boys, and yet there is a lot of sort of non-memory faded darkness.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, obviously, coming from a Stephen King story, there's a much darker place for it. And the interesting thing is, I think both of these stories, or Stand By Me and The Sandlot, are based in part on the lives of the authors when they were young. And I guess it's telling in a way that, Stephen King's real life story of, going on this hike with his friends and finding a body is a little darker. And, it would be an interesting story taking these Sandlot boys and putting them in that sort of a place. Now, granted, I mean, they're a little older in
a little bit
that film. But there is an interesting difference there. And I think it's just the nostalgia factor that this one is trying to tap into. Something like Stand By Me, it's hard to tap into a feeling of nostalgia when it does deal with death and, all those hard things that they have to go through in that film. But it does have that vibe if you think about it in context of the journey that they take, because I think there are some nostalgia moments in like the train sequence in Stand By Me, and likewise when he's telling the story about the pie eating contest.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, there are these, it sort of dives in and out of that sort of nostalgia zone, in a gifted way. Not so much like. Not as committed as something like The Wonder Years. Is actually, that's an interesting one that this brought me back to, was that here we have a show, a television show that exists to give you the exact same feeling I think that I was getting out of watching The Sandlot again today. And that ran, I found that interesting that show ran from, 88 through 93, when it went off the air. And, was such a celebration of that same sort of nostalgia in the same era.
Right.
What was going on when all we wanted to do was hang out and talk about the late 60s?
I know. I guess it was everyone from the late 60s was grown up, right?
So talk a little bit about how the story is structured. From when you look at kind of the dramatic arc of the story, and because I think this is it's kind of textbook in a really pleasing way.
It is a very simple story. Like I said, it is episodic. It's got the whole beginning of the film all the way up through the midpoint when he gets the ball and they lose the Babe Ruth ball over the fence, because then really the second half of the film is dealing with that.
Right.
The first half of the film is just very episodic, them getting to know each other and then going on all of these different I don't know if you'd call them adventures, but life experiences. You've got the love story going on, the little scene at the pool with the lifeguard, and you've got the rival team. You've got them learning, the trials of chewing tobacco. All of those sorts of things that they're experiencing in that second. It's really kind of like, I guess, the beginning of the second act of the film. It's like you said, it's pretty simply structured. You've got a nice open, and it leads up to the ball getting lost, and then the second half of the film is getting the ball back, only to find out that it would have been a lot easier, and it should have been a lot easier than the route that they took. But
because 11-year-old boys are all naturally Rube Goldberg machines.
Exactly.
I mean, that was hysterical. That was fantastic.
Yeah, watching the trio of vacuum cleaners that they've brought up to their treehouse with plugs traipsing all the way down to the house, and this giant tube.
What was so brilliant about that and this gets back to what I was talking about. Who didn't do stuff like this when the vacuum cleaners start to fail? The easy choice would have been to unplug them.
Unplug them, turn them off, right? Yeah. All of those things.
No, they abandoned the treehouse,
right,
en masse, and leave everything running to blow up. It's exactly it's so real, people.
Well, it is, and that's the whole thing. Is like, as an adult, I watch that and I'm like, just turn it off, kids. And then I'm like, oh, but these are kids.
Yeah,
they don't think that way.
They have to learn.
Exactly.
They have to see it blow up first.
Yep.
The one of the things I like so much about that second act, because it's not the whole film might not be necessarily episodic. It's that second act that takes you into kind of sitcom land, where you get all of these little vignettes.
Yeah.
But what you earn out of those vignettes is you earn the team. Insofar as this, these kids are part of a neighborhood pickup game. Without all of those sort of efforts to retrieve the ball or to try out the tobacco or to whatever, blow up the vacuum cleaners, without all of those things, you don't really earn the disappearing players segment at the end of Act 3 as he's listing off where everybody ends up and how the team disappears and how they never really replaced the players as they moved away and grew up.
Which was very touching when the last person you see playing ball all by himself with Hercules the dog watching him is Benny, and he's just sitting there hitting the ball, and it is kind of it's heartbreaking. It does have that kind of melancholic feel of childhood passing.
Yes.
And that actually was one moment that did bring me back a lot to the ending of Stand By Me.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it was oh gosh, well, that's when the man tears started.
Yeah.
I did love, just as a quick aside, I loved the last segment when we see that our fair narrator Smalls is grown up and he's now he's now calling the games, and Benny is the grown up player for what was the team? See, now I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, I can't remember. Is he the Giants?
Oh, it was the Dodgers, for the LA Dodgers.
Right, yeah, that's right.
So Benny is playing for the Dodgers, and the actor that played grown-up Benny was actually younger Benny's older brother.
And the actor who played grown-up Smalls is Arliss Howard, who was in Moneyball.
Yes.
He played the owner of the Red Sox, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right. Fascinating. So what do we have of note in terms of the production of this thing?
I don't have a lot about the production of this. The kids, obviously, something that we talked about in last year when we were talking about baseball. When you're doing a baseball film, it's one of those sports where you really have to have people who know how to play the game to make it look real. Now, obviously, if you're doing a story about professional baseball, they have to be looking like they're really hitting fast pitches and all that. With kids, you definitely don't have to. You're not throwing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs at the kids or anything like that. But they still have to know how to play. So they still had to find a group of kids who could play ball. And I mean, honestly, these kids got to play ball for a whole summer, basically making a movie and having a blast. And I think you can tell that this is a group of kids that bonded and really connected. And I really like that about it.
And frankly, they're not bad ball players.
No, they did a great job.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah, they did. They really did. Let's see. Anthony B. Richmond was the director of photography. He had some nice work in it. It wasn't anything that was meant to really stand out, but it does have some fun framing, just some nice shots of people lined up and stuff like that. It looks pretty nice. He's a guy who definitely keeps busy. He's actually working on the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, Alvin and the Chipmunks. So he definitely is still keeping busy making a lot of films. The music is by David Newman, one of the family Newman, the composing family, who does lots of great stuff. And I really enjoyed the vibe that he brought to this film. It does have a nice, again, kind of a little bit of a nostalgic sort of feel. I like what he did with it.
Yes, I got sidetracked.
Oh, yeah.
While you were talking, you moved on, and I was still looking at Anthony B. Richmond.
Oh, okay.
Well, only because I find it so fascinating when we look at these guys who are kind of the under the radar guys,
right? And
so as you say, the Sandlot was not this was about these little characters. It wasn't it wasn't designed to kind of visually shake the world, but where he goes from there. Gosh, how did he end up doing Big Mamas? Like father, like son.
Yeah.
He ends up doing these kind of crazy things. I guess there's nothing really in here that just sort of.
Well, I mean, this is a guy who started. I mean, he's listed on IMDb as director of photography for 85 titles.
Yeah,
that's from the 60s all the way through present day. I mean, he was working like way back when with Nicholas Roeg in Don't Look Now. He was working with it looks like it says Woody Allen. No, that's not Woody Allen. Who did this film? Oh, Michael Apted. He's a British cinematographer, which is always interesting when a British cinematographer ends up working in baseball films. But he really kind of had that 60s vibe, and then he came over to America at some point, I guess, and started making some TV movies and getting into things like The Indian Runner and Candyman, Sandlot, Tales from the Hood. So it really kind of, I think he just became kind of a studio cinematographer.
Yeah.
Was kind of a go-to
kind
guy.
Kind of the utility player.
Yeah, who could really get the job done, knew how to make things look good. probably did a great job and probably works quickly. And it looks like he's just keeping himself busy doing it. So yeah.
Okay, now we can go back to your music.
No, I finished with him. I liked it. I think that he does a great job with it, and that was really all I had to say about it.
Well, that was good. I'm glad I came back for that.
I am too. Really am glad.
Yeah.
So it's a really fantastic film. Oh, other people in the cast that we haven't pointed out. Are you
going to talk about the grown-ups?
I was going to talk about some of the grown-ups.
You should do that.
Denise Liari.
Yeah.
He's wonderful in the film. In his bit, well, I shouldn't say he's wonderful, but he has a nice bit part as the stepfather. And I think he does a good job in that sort of role without giving it the creepy "I'm going to beat you" vibe that you get in
in Radio
Flyer. Right.
He's just busy, not abusive.
Right, exactly. There's a difference. Karen Allen, proving that she's not as awful as she.
Stop.
No,
Stop.
I mean I was
going to
bring
do
up
Crystal
Kingdom
Skull.
I
know you
was.
That's
I was.
just mean.
Yes. No, she's not always bad.
She wasn't great, but she was good in this.
She was fine. Yes, Marley Shelton, as absolutely lovely as ever, as Wendy the lifeguard.
Peppercorn.
Yes, Peppercorn. There you go.
Marley.
There's a woman who needs to get married so she can change her last name.
She
Wendy
really
Peppercorn.
She's one of those that's been in a lot of movies that I didn't know.
She's been in a lot. Some of my favorites are actually Planet Terror and Sin City. I think that she's
Sin City. Yeah,
those films are just fun, and she's great.
Yeah,
in them. Yeah. So, but yeah, she's definitely been around for a long time. She was in Pleasantville, and Warriors of Virtue. There's a really terrible children's film.
This was it looks like her second feature film, and after this she goes to Nixon. Oliver Stone.
That is quite a jump. No, well, no. She's Grand Canyon, and and then a lot of TV is where she kind of started, right. And then the Sandlot, and it does look like
her next
Nixon
feature
is the next one. Wow,
fascinating.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, and we can't forget to talk about the always awesome,
Mr. James Earl Jones. He has to be quite the baseball lover.
Yeah,
because he's done quite a few baseball movies. I shouldn't say quite a few. I mean, he's been in at least two that we've talked about. Then back in the 70s, he did Bingo Long.
The thing is, he's been in 7,200 movies, so you're bound to hit a few baseball movies.
There you go.
I'm not sure if you're just not rolling the dice on that.
He did the Bingo Long, Traveling All-Stars, and Motor Kings, a baseball film, a year before Star Wars.
Man, yeah. The guy loves him some baseball.
He's a baseball man, yeah.
All right.
Fantastic. He's just always great to see, and he's great in this film. It's nice when he pops in. It's just really fun.
Yeah. It really is a treat. He plays the blind owner of the Beast, and a former baseball player himself.
Yeah.
I love the deal that he makes at the end with the boys. Just come to my place every week to talk about baseball, and we'll call it even.
That is one of the most just tender moments in the film, and that's a moment that I didn't have man tears, but I did come close.
You did. You totally did. You choked a little bit.
I didn't. Not this time.
Okay.
Oh, and then last,
yeah.
Another baseball face that we've seen before, Art LaFleur, who plays the Babe in this. He was in Field of Dreams as one of the baseball players coming out of the corn.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He just looks like Babe to me.
He just looks like a baseball player.
He totally does. He's a baseball player.
He really needs to be in every baseball movie that gets made.
Him and James.
Yeah.
Jamesy J. He likes it when I call him that.
He does. He does.
He calls me. He says, Just say it that one time. Jimmy J, come on. You can't call me so late, I say.
Wow, this is still going.
It was a bit. Stop. Okay, so the film is it fair to call it a cult favorite now? Is that
it really it is now. When it came out, it got some good reviews, it got some bad reviews. Some people said it was shamelessly derivative. Some people said it was genuinely sweet. Some people said it was remarkably shallow. There's a wide variety of the reviews. But and when it came out, I couldn't find any numbers as far as how much it cost. But it did make about $32.5 million domestically, only about $1 million internationally. So about 33.8 is its total gross. But since then, the cult love for this film has just skyrocketed. And VHS and DVD sales around the world estimated at 76 million. So this is a definition. This film is a definition of a cult favorite.
Favorite.
Yeah, it really has just taken off, and people love it. It's a film that is going to stand the test of time because it just has that feeling that we've been talking about that people connect with, and it brings them back to a place that has nothing but positive memories of childhood.
It is that. Roger Ebert says that the movie seduced him.
Yeah.
And I love that word about this film. It is seductive in the way it sort of lures you and connects you to your own past. If you lived in this sort of a, this hot long summer days, playing in the neighborhood, then this movie seduces you back to that place, and it's very special.
Yeah.
I guess those who think it's shallow are radio flyer people.
That's right.
You're either a radio flyer or a Sandlot person. Whatever.
That's it.
Whatever.
One or the other.
I think that I think it's a great family film. It's a great film to hang out and watch with the kids.
Absolutely.
It's a good movie night or summer movie. I like this.
Yeah, and it's great to watch again at the start of the baseball season.
Oh, it sure is.
Yeah.
Let's.
One last little thing that I didn't realize until we watched it, but I found it so interesting that we ended up picking Moneyball and The Sandlot as the two baseball films that we were talking about this year, because Moneyball is so much about this like science of baseball and the statistics and how to win using statistics, and it almost takes a lot of the magic out of it. And this film really is about how baseball is this tool that transports you back to this place of memory and nostalgia and the joy and the magic of life. And there is some of that in Moneyball, and they there is that thing, but it's a really interesting look at the two different sides of baseball.
I think you're absolutely right. It's an interesting, I think you get that moment in The Sandlot when Smalls is so obviously struggling on the Sandlot, and Benny comes out and he says, how do I catch the ball?
Mm-hmm.
He says, just hold your mitt up in the air. I'll do the rest. Right? It's like this baseball as thing of faith. But in contrast, Moneyball, insofar as the story of Moneyball is about statistics and about sort of sucking some of that faith out of the game, I think the lesson of Moneyball is that there is always faith in the game.
Well, yeah, and especially, and there's always magic, like that last little bit when they watch that the tape of that player who never thought he would hit a home run, and then here he is hitting a home run, and that's the magic. And Brad Pitt has that great line there about how can you not love baseball?
Oh God, when Jonah Hill, when he's telling that story, he says everybody's laughing at him, and what he doesn't know yet is that he's just gone. I mean, that is one of the best speeches about the love of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. This is a great pairing, a far better pairing than I would have expected it to have been, or than I indeed did expect it to be.
Right.
Back then. Let's flick chart it.
Let's. All right. So The Sandlot. Here we go. So The Sandlot, we're adding to our flick chart. And first up is It's Thinking. It's Thinking.
Mm-hmm. How's it thinking?
Gosh, every single time. The Dark Knight Rises. Why is that always the first thing that we have to rank against? Well, I picked the Sandlot.
I picked the Sandlot.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. By the way, the poster that they have, it must be a German one, is called Hercules und die Sandlot Kids. Nice.
Fantastic.
All right. Wow, we jumped up quite a bit. Sandlot or Zero Dark 30?
Oh. Okay, now how are you thinking about this? Which one would you put on more often?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like this totally ruins it because I would pick Zero Dark 30.
Well, Zero Dark 30 is by far a better film.
Yeah.
So I think we have to vote on
We've got it. This is where we vote with integrity.
Yep. That's right.
It's a very serious process.
Sandlot or adaptation? Adaptation.
Yeah, adaptation.
The Bourne Identity.
Bourne Identity.
Okay. The Sandlot or Cloud Atlas?
Sandlot.
I would go with Cloud Atlas because of how ballsy it was. They did some crazy stuff in that film.
I know they did. and still.
Oh, you know what? I'll give you the Sandlot.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I feel like I give on this a lot more than you do.
That is totally not true. Are you kidding?
All right.
Okay, go.
Moving on. Sandlot or Thank You for Smoking?
Whatever you want.
Wow, that was easy.
Thank You for Smoking.
Yes, I agree. All right, there we go. Number 35 out of 75.
That feels exactly right to me.
Feels pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Ah.
Where do we go from here, Andrew? We're at the end of baseball.
We're at the end of baseball, and we are going to be jumping into a whole new series that I think is going to be a lot of fun.
Something we've never done.
It's a series we have not done before. We're going to be doing an original sci-fi series. These are films that are not based on anything, that did not spin anything off from them, and really have never had sequels, anything like that. It's a complete standalone sci-fi film that we love.
I'm pretty excited about this.
Yeah, me too.
We're only doing 3 of them, but I think this is a series.
We've got 4.
We do?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I was looking at the spreadsheet, and there was a little thing in there that got in the way, and I didn't see that. We do. We have 4.
Yeah. That's
we
right.
A whole month. The month of March.
Yep.
Is all about original science fiction. There is some really not just terrific sci-fi in this set, but terrific films. The first one, should we say it? Are we saying it? Let's do it. Let's lead into it.
You can say the first one, yeah.
We're starting with Dark City, and I believe we will be reviewing the director's cut, the re-release, right?
Sure.
Is that the version you have?
I have to go look.
All right.
That's
the version we're going to be looking at, and very, very excited. This is it's one of my very favorite films.
It's pretty fantastic sci-fi. Wholly unique.
Wholly unique.
Wholly unique, Batman.
So that's it. That's all I've got. Do you have anything else you would like to say? You want to one-up me on one more thing, or?
Are
you fatigued?
I am fatigued.
That tires you?
All of our Oscar talk just tuckered me. Plum tuckered me out. You're
an old man.
I am. I'm gonna go throw some stones at kids walking across my lawn.
You should totally do that.
I'm gonna.
It's liberating. It's freeing. When you're young, you don't understand. Sometimes you just got to throw stuff at people. When you're a kid, you just feel like a victim.
That's right.
All right, I gotta go. It's good talking
Fantastic.
to you.
Sir.
I'll catch you next week.
Sounds good.
We wanted to take a moment to thank you for your continued support over the years. It's hard to believe that we've been having weekly, in-depth discussions about movies since 2011.
That's right, 12 years and counting. Producing this show is a labor of love for us, but it does require a lot of time and effort each week.
If you enjoy our podcast and would love to help keep it going, there are some easy ways you can show your support. One is by using our Originals page to shop for the original source material that movies we've discussed were based on.
That's right. In Season 1 alone, we covered 13 films adapted from books or plays, from Charlie Kaufman's adaptation to David Fincher adaptations like Fight Club.
In Season 2, we covered even more, like Powell and Pressburger's The Red Shoes and The African Queen from our series about legendary cinematographer Jack Cardiff.
We can't forget about the 4 Jason Bourne movies we talked about. Love those movies. Well, the original trilogy, at least.
For our Richard D. Zanuck series, we did Jaws, Rush, Big Fish, and more. And for our horror series, we talked about John Carpenter's The Thing, which was adapted from Who Goes There?
We did our first great car chase series with movies like Bullet, The French Connection, and Drive. And for the holidays, we did Preston Sturgis's Christmas in July.
We had a great John Huston series with adaptations like The Maltese Falcon and The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
And for our baseball series, Moneyball with Brad Pitt. Have I told you lately how much I love that movie?
Yeah, I think you have. Plus our Magician series and Heist film series had adaptations as well.
Tons of page-to-screen gems. Listeners can find the details and links to the original material at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book, play, or movie you buy through our links helps support the show, and it's no extra cost to you.
So dive in and get your next read today. thenextreel.com/originals has all the films adapted from other sources that not only we have covered, but all of the shows on the Next Reel family of podcasts. Check it out and get reading.
Support the show and build your reading list. It's a win-win. Head to thenextreel.com/originals.